my man threw for over 350 yards, added another 55 rushing, 6 touchdowns responsible. And most importantly, I was there on the sideline there at the Palouse, and my man's got fantastic hair. I think right now, number one in college football when it comes to hair. The flow was unbelievable. I had like the headband going. I'm serious. He might be this year's Sam Hartman from last year. Remember Notre Dame? My man was running like in the combine, hair was flowing. I think Mateer might be able to take his title, Coach. Welcome back to the Nick and Nigel Show on the Pac-12 Fast channel. Once again, happy to be back with you after week 1 of college football. By the way, you can watch us again on the Pac-12 Fast channel, Samsung channel 2392. Also a Pac-12 Insider on Samsung TV Plus and Samsung any connected device and Amazon TV. So, Coach, how's it going, man? What's going on out there, man? I know you were pumped for week 1 and ready for week 2 of college football.
Absolutely. Just love college football, as do you. And I tell you what, Nigel, it was a good first week, a lot of good games. I know we're talking Washington State here, so I'm going with this. I watched that game, and after watching Mateer, Mateer played very little last year. And when he was in, he was mostly a running guy. So I was really interested to see what he did as a quarterback throwing the ball. And I thought he was outstanding. I really do. He had some zip on that ball, particularly in those intermediate passes. I really was impressed with his command of the offense. First start, 4 touchdown passes, a long touchdown run. Mateer just jumped out at me. And I was sitting there thinking, Washington State will only go as far as their quarterback play is because they've had great quarterback play, and Mateer seemed to fit the billing after game 1.
Well, hey, my man threw for over 350 yards, added another 55 rushing, 6 touchdowns responsible. And most importantly, I was there on the sideline there at the Palouse, and my man's got fantastic hair. I think right now, number one in college football when it comes to hair. The flow was unbelievable. I had like the headband going. I'm serious. He might be this year's Sam Hartman from last year. Remember Notre Dame? My man was running like in the combine, hair was flowing. I think Mateer might be able to take his title, Coach.
So you're thinking he could rival Trevor Lawrence, then, is what you're saying? Because Trevor Lawrence was a big hair guy back in the day. No, I know Mateer's got a good arm. Really didn't see much of his hair because he had his helmet off when I was watching, but liked the way he played as a quarterback. And then Kyle Williams, Chris Hudson, 2 guys that caught for over 100 yards. They looked very good. Williams looked extremely fast on the one little short pass, then he took it to the house. And then how about, and I had to look this up a couple times, my man Wayshawn Parker.
That's my God.
In Sacramento, California. He looked really good. And the Cougars ran the ball more than I've seen them do in the past. So offensively, they were clicking on all cylinders against Portland State.
Got you, Coach. My man Wayshawn from Pacer Nation at Grant High School. Look, as I'm watching the whole thing, I'm right there with you. I know also people are making a big deal out of the fact that Portland State scored 30 points. They had 450 yards of total offense. That first series, there was some concern there. Do you have any concerns about their defense, especially going into this game against Texas Tech coming up?
Well, they unloaded the bench, that being Washington State. Everybody played, and that's always a feel-good victory. But, yeah, I have to be honest with you, to give up 30 points and 450 yards to a team that is not in your division, although they've been good running the ball, that being Portland State, little bit concerning to me. Also, the secondary appeared to be young and let guys get behind them that wasn't touchdown passes, but guys were behind them. So I do have a little bit concerned for Washington State defensively, but we'll see bigger tests this weekend against Texas Tech.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever listed one of my concerns was the fans. Well, I was there in person. I'm like, look, man, you guys got one of the best squads coming out on the West Coast, one of the best teams out there, and it was kind of empty. So I'm like, look, this week against Texas Tech, hopefully the Coug fans show out, pack the stadium. It's really the Mike Leach quintessential game. Washington State, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders coming in. How about this? The Red Raiders won the overtime of Alabama Christian in their game. And so they've got a lot of questions as well, especially on the defensive side. So it's going to be an offensive fireworks type of game, but hopefully the Coug defense locks down. Obviously, Coach Dickert is a defensive guy, so he's going to be ready to go, get his defense ready to lock things down against Texas Tech as they roll into the Palouse. Hey, coming up next, we got our guy, Max Browne, who's going to talk a little Oregon State football, and he took a little trip that was pretty interesting this weekend as well. Next on the Nick and Nigel Show. Welcome back to the Nick and Nigel Show, once again on the Pac-12 Fast channel. Once again, you can find it on the Pac-12 Insider on Samsung Plus TV, Samsung Connected TVs, and Amazon Freevee, Samsung Channel 2392. Bringing in my guy, Max Browne, former quarterback at the University of Southern California and University of Pittsburgh, where our guy Yogi Roth. I guess we're just bringing on all the Pitt Panthers on the Nick and Nigel Show. So we gotta find another one. I don't know, maybe we get Tony Dorsett, coach, to come on next week with the Nick and Nigel Show.
That'd be fun. I bet Tony knows some stuff.
Well, Max, man, welcome. On the call last week as Oregon State took on Idaho State. And hey, just want to bring it. First of all, first question I got, were you as surprised as we were when obviously Giovanni McCoy got the start, which we all knew, but then all of a sudden, midway through the game, we see Jabari Johnson come in, not Ben Gulbranson. Were you as surprised as we were that was the case?
Yeah, what's up, fellas? Appreciate you having me on. I had the inside scoop, so we got if you asked me that on Thursday before the game, I probably would have been surprised. It felt like the beat all off season was saying, Jabari Johnson wasn't getting those first team reps like Ben Gulbranson was, but then we got the nugget Friday that, hey, they're really excited about Jabari Johnson. Obviously a big time recruit from the Tacoma area, went to Missouri, and then in the portal was a huge get for the Beavs. And, he showed flashes of some special playmaking ability that, I know in my lifetime I haven't seen an Oregon State quarterback with that dual threat capability. So that'll be interesting as the season progresses. But I also thought Giovanni McCoy did everything they asked him to do. Super efficient, got the ball out of his hands, had that one long shot down the field, and feels like there was a lot more left in the playbook that they could get to. But I think Oregon State's quarterback room is deep.
Well, I know, Coach, you were impressed with the quarterbacks as well, but obviously the run game and the offensive line really dominated as well, right?
Yeah, Hankerson and Jam Griffin, they did an excellent job running the ball. I think they combined had over 300 yards between them. I thought that Oregon State did what they did last year, which was run the ball, have a ball control type offense, play solid defense. It seemed to be Trent Bray didn't skip a beat with the same plan as they had the year before under Jonathan Smith. So I thought Oregon State looked good. I thought the running backs looked excellent. I wasn't, sorry, Max and Nigel, I was not as impressed with the quarterbacks. I thought they played good. I thought they played okay, but I have some questions if and when they have to throw the ball. The jury's still out for me what kind of quarterback they are throwing the ball down the field.
Max, I'm curious, obviously our impression of the quarterback play was a little bit different, but I would say maybe a lot of that, my concern was more in the receiver room, and just what were your impressions of their passing game outside of just the quarterback play?
Yeah, the receiver room for Oregon State to me was the big question going into the game because you lose Gould and Bolden to got a touchdown from Arch Manning this past weekend, and then Gould made the 53-man roster for the Colts. So those are big-time guys you got to replace. I walked away thinking, hey, Trent Walker, number 7, that's going to be their go-to guy this season. He had a drop in one of those games, but even just talking with the staff, it sounds like they're really excited about what he could be. Got a scholarship this past May. Looked more physical, looked athletic enough to be at least a deep threat in some capacity. But I think that's going to be something they're going to have to figure out over the next few weeks. And And Coach, I agree with you in terms of if they get into a game where, hey, they're going to have to drop back on first downs and come up with multiple third down conversions through the air, like, I got my reservations there. But I thought in terms of the plays called and the game plan executed, like I don't walk away saying, oh, wow, Giovanni McCoy like missed these reads or, was making this critical mistake, which to me was a good sign, especially in the context of, everything you read about the offseason was that quarterback competition at times was not the prettiest, and they were kind of looking around, wondering if they had any sort of passing attack. So a lot to grow into for sure. It'll be interesting to see how they rotate those quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your assessment was great. I think you were there. You saw them. You had more insight than I did going into it. Yeah, it'll be curious when they have to throw it down the road. Maybe this weekend, see what happens. But jury's still out.
Well, speaking of this weekend, I'm curious. They've got San Diego State. They got to go travel. First game on the road. One thing we've always said, Coach and Max, is defense travels. What were your impressions of the Oregon State defense under first-time coordinator Keith Hayward?
I thought they reloaded. I thought, with Trent Bray, that identity. I mean, I called Trent Bray's first game as a defensive coordinator, and man, it felt like they turned on a light switch right there with that, with just his identity. And it feels like even though it's a new crop of guys, they're still embracing that, playing fast. They're not necessarily going to be the biggest up front, but man, they're moving, they're active. Their linebacker room really stuck out to me in terms of, they lost Easton Mascarenas-Arnold to USC. That's a lot of tackles you had to replace. Melvin Jordan, I thought, was solid. Isaiah Chisholm got ejected in the second half. But those guys are big and physical, and walking off the bus, they look the part. And then they are really, really excited about their true freshman, Dexter Foster, the reserve linebacker. He's a dude that both Trent Bray and Keith Hayward, on their own accounts, went out of their way to say how special this true freshman is. He's big, long, athletic. So linebacker room stuck out to me. And then secondary-wise, I mean, I don't necessarily look at the film and say, oh, wow, they have, these impact players across the board, but they were sharp. They were playing 5 DBs consistently, playing and play out. And I don't have any huge concerns of like, oh, wow, there's gaping holes, especially given the battle they had at corner and one of the safety spots this offseason.
Well, I thought the defense was very solid. I thought they did a good job of keeping the ball in front of them. They made Idaho State have to drive the field. I always like that kind of defense because I think in college football, you don't give up explosions. The offense will screw it up before they score a touchdown. So I thought the defense was very solid. Let's face it, neither Oregon State nor Washington State was really tested this weekend. So I'm anxious to watch this weekend when Oregon State plays a San Diego State that's a step up in caliber.
Well, Max, I said earlier, this is the first time I've ever listed a concern of mine was the crowd when it came to Washington State, because I think they have a great team. And I don't know if the first game, I didn't see the response from the crowd, so I'm looking for that one when they take on Texas Tech. I don't think I've ever listed a concern as the snapper. And I'm not talking the center. I'm talking about special teams, because as I was watching, you had the safety that happened on their punt team that was snapped out the back of the end zone. And then you're just watching their field goal attempts. And I just keep thinking that you're going to go on the road against San Diego State. This game is probably going to be tight. It's going to come down to your ability to kick field goals and some things. And there were some, he got saved a few times by the holders. So again, I don't think I've ever listed this before, Coach, or Max, saying that the snapper was an area of concern, but that's one that I'm going to keep an eye on. Hey, that said, thanks for coming on, Max. Coach, great to see you, my friend. Look forward to week 2 of college football on the Nick and Nigel Show on the Pac-12 Fast channel. We'll see you next week.